Are we gonna do this again today, guy? Be still, okay? That bed is rattly and I'm filming a video. Camera avoidance. Don't start anything, boo. Be good. Meow. Hey, it's Doris with Aldi Books, and I'm here for episode 3 of the Tower of Doom Trials. So if you don't know what the heck is going on, I will link episodes 1 and 2 below so you can check those out. In a nutshell, these books are on trial, and I have so far from episode 2 a maybe pile and a keeper pile. There are no doomed books thus far, but there's still time. There's still time. Shawn is back with me today. Thank you so much, Shawn. Shawn is such a great guy. I specifically requested him because not only is he a book maniac, but he is the Empress of Bailing. And I just think I need him to hold my hand when, I'm pitching some of these books. No, I kid, but I really appreciate Shawn's perspective on his reading tastes. And I can listen to Shawn completely trash a book, knowing that I love the book. And I don't feel judged by Shawn for, my reading tastes. On the flip side, he can, gush about a book and I cannot like it at all. And I don't feel like a bad person for that. So thank you, Shawn. Thank you for, helping teach us that we can all have our own reading tastes and it is okay. Now, I also have Marie Kondo here, my imaginary friend. Shawn's real, by the way, but Marie Kondo here. She's real too, but I don't know her. But I do know her philosophy and I have a great deal of respect for it. The essence of her philosophy, I know she gets a bad rap on BookTube for her we only need 30 books philosophy. We can argue all day about whether or not she said it. I know probably in her mind she thinks it. She probably truly does think it. However, she never offers her assistance to others unless they ask for it. And I think that she thinks, if you feel like you need 300 books, you do you. I'm just here telling you my philosophy. I've watched a few of her TV shows back in the day, and I love them. I am all here for some Marie Kondo. Like I said, I'm a major purger. You may have noticed this. But the key to her success is her soul-searching philosophy, Shawn. Yes, soul-piercing philosophy. The center of her success is this concept of holding the item in your hands and asking yourself, does it spark joy? You might think that's hokey, but it really works. Hold it in your hand. Does it spark joy? Here's the thing. I can hold this book up. This is not a good example. This is a better example. Let's just go ahead and deal with this maybe issue, okay? This is a National Book Award winner. And when I purchased this book, I was new to BookTube and very naive. And I thought that those awards really meant something. And they do. I am not here to trash book awards. However, I have come to realize that book awards don't really mean that this is going to be a brilliant book and that I am going to love it. okay? It might be a literary sensation, but it doesn't mean that it's a book for me. There are also friends, I have friends that are very concerned about some books in this stack, including this one. And I feel like, I might let them down if I don't read this book. But at the end of the day, these are my bookshelves. And this is my mind. And I am the one that best knows myself and my reading tastes. And what Marie Kondo says is hold the book, or whatever it is. Hold it in your hands and ask yourself, does it spark joy? She doesn't ask you, what does everyone else think about the book? She says, how does it make you feel? And I'm going to be honest, guys. Every single time that I pick this book up, I am bored out of my ever-loving mind. I know I haven't even read it, but I don't want to. So, this is a difficult thing to do, but that pile is doomed, okay? Doomsday right there. So, now we have Doomed, On Trial, and Keepers. Oh, that wasn't so hard. Okay, next up, we have The Inheritance of Beauty by Nicole Seitz. Let's read page 112. We're doing the 112 tag with Shawn. So let's read page 112 together, and I'll share my thoughts, and we'll see what Shawn thinks, and then we'll make a decision.
I'm sure. And you never knew? Asked George. What kind of question is that? Says Ash. Course I never knew. Did you know? George shakes his head pitiful-like. He didn't mean any harm. Ash looks over at me and sighs. Maggie, it's time you grew up quick. We got to get to the bottom of this, and it ain't going to be easy. You in or you out? I'm in. I'm muster, not missing a beat. The look in Ash's eyes is different than I've ever seen. He looks hard, older than 10. Okay then, George, you go on back and help your pa with the farming. Joe, you go act like nothing at all is wrong. Keep a lookout for Mr. Stackhouse, or whoever he is. You think he's starting to wake up, run on over and let me know. Ash takes my hand. Come on, Maggie. We gotta go home and talk to Mama now. My mother is standing out in the side yard at the clothesline. There are dresses of hers and some of mine hanging. Some socks, some of Daddy's underwear. The breeze blows them around her as we walk up, and her hair pulls back. When she looks at us, she's as pretty as I've ever seen, wearing a green dress with tiny orange flowers. She smiles, and I feel like running into her arms. I don't care what all she did before. She's my mother. I love her no matter what. In fact, I was just over at a lady preacher's house lying about the call of the Lord. Who am I to judge? I know without a doubt I am fiercely forgiving of anything Mama ever thought about doing. Even if it was going to jail.
Did you sit with Marie Kondo, boo? Are you? Baby girl.
This is a tough one for me because more than half of the page is basically dialogue, and it's colloquial with lots of I might be set in the American South, Doris. I'm not in love with that dialogue, but it's also really hard to judge the quality of the writing when there's so much dialogue. But expository sentences like George shakes his head pitiful-like don't endear me. The lower third is there's no dialogue, and it was pretty plain until we get near the bottom of the page. She's the protagonist who's a child, so again, I'm not in love with child narrators or protagonists, but she's watching her mother put up the laundry in the clothesline. She's my mother. I love her no matter what. In fact, I was just over at a lady preacher's house lying about the call of the Lord. Who am I to judge? Those last two sentences. Wow, I want to know more about that. So I can't decide about this one, but I was hooked by the the bottom of the page.
Okay, I totally agree with Shawn's sentiments about this book. 100%. I felt like the dialogue wasn't clunky. It didn't offend me the way dialogue sometimes does when it's clunky, but it didn't have any flair to it. It didn't have any richness to it. It was just functional. The whole page seemed functional. It is set in the American South. South Carolina in 1929 is the flashback, and the modern day setting is in a nursing home. It has a 3.81 out of only 362 reviews, so that's not many. And it was published in 2011. So Shawn didn't read the part about going to jail, so that is definitely intriguing. And I did flip through and read a few more little tiny snippets in the first half. And yeah, but the prologue, I am 7 years old holding the magician. Excuse me. Hey, boo. I am 7 years old holding the magician's wand, cool and silver in my hand. Kiss of death. I don't feel like reading magicians. No, she's not a magician. It's just a child's play, but I think this would be fine, but it's one that I think that I could read really quickly and that I would just read quickly to be done with it. And I'm not sparking any joy. It's not sparking any joy in my hands. So I think that is a perfect candidate for my local little free library. Someone will love that around here. So on to the next one. You can't go out right now, guy. I'm filming. Stop your yowling. Oh my. So been dreading this one. This is one of those books that I feel intimidated by unhauling because I feel kind of guilty not giving it a chance. It's just so talked about. It's a Pulitzer Prize winner. And yeah, it's just talked about a lot. I kind of feel like there are certain styles of talked about books that I feel like I should read. War and Peace, check. The Luminaries, oh God. I read that whole book and hated every minute of it, but I just felt like it was so talked about that I needed to, and I check. Duck's Newburyport. What else? Infinite Jest. I unhauled that one. So yeah, I don't know. Let's see. This was published in 1980. It has a 3.88 on Goodreads out of 216,127 reviews. And that's a pretty good indication. Like, I have a theory about those really big books that, people that would give them bad ratings don't, because they don't finish them and they DNF and they feel like they can't rate them, which is another discussion altogether. This is a comedic classic tagged as the Don Quixote of the French Quarter in New Orleans. That's intriguing. Yeah, so honestly, I don't really know much about this one, so maybe if I learn a little more about it, I will be interested. So I am going to read the first page. I'm not intrigued by the quality of this book. It's one of those stiff paperbacks, and it's got weird text, it doesn't stay open easily either. So I could always, find another one. These are all over the place. That's why I have it, because I thought the cover was so cool, among other things. Anyway, let's just read page 112 and see what we think.
There's a lot of text on this page. Let's see if we can do it. Brittle and yellowing papers in the files constitute a fire hazard. A more special aspect that may not apply in all cases is that my files apparently are a tenement for assorted vermin. The bubonic plague is a valid medieval fate. I do believe, though, that contracting the plague in this dreadful century would be only ludicrous. I think we're done here. I've already left. And I'm a sucker for pandemics right now. Let's see what Shawn thinks. Yeah. I think this might be a keeper.
All right. This is the one that starts with brittle and yellowing papers in the files. Britta. Doris? I am being quintessentially Shawn the Book Maniac in telling you that I bailed before I got to the bottom of the page because I really hated the writing. Is this an old story? Published a long time ago? It's so formal and polysyllabic, and I didn't like it at all. Latrixie still keeps her own counsel, thereby proving herself even wiser than I had thought. That's a puke-worthy sentence. Thereby? In a novel? The next sentence. I suspect that this woman knows a great deal, that her apathy is a facade for her seeming resentment against Levi pants. There's just so much like that. She grows more coherent when she speaks of retirement. I mean, it's just horrible writing. So I stopped before the last paragraph. It's like, no.
Polysyllabic. The irony, Shawn. To be fair, he is looking at this book completely blind, which he wouldn't care anyway. But he doesn't know that it's intended to be funny. Although it didn't strike him as funny. So that's bravery to comment on a book without knowing, to comment on text without knowing anything about the context. But and then I read the what is it you called this, Shawn? The word is not coming to me. Shawn has a tag about that, whatever this is. Epigraph? Yeah, the epigraph. When a true genius appears in the world, you may know him by this sign, that the Dunces are all in Confederacy against him. And this is by Jonathan Swift. And boo, my word. And if you guys haven't read A Modest Proposal, A Modest Proposal by Jonathan Swift, oh my gosh, that slays me every time. And if you read it and you're not amused, you're gonna think I'm like sadistic or something. Anyway, on to the next one. Oh, this is a keeper. Yay. Okay.
Hold down the noise in the peanut gallery. Yeah, I'm talking to you.
Okay, next up, and the last one for today is We Are Not Ourselves by Matthew Thomas. This is another one that I didn't know much about 3 years ago when I bought it at the used bookstore for probably 85 cents. All of these I got at the Fill a Bag sale, which is another incentive for liberating myself, because I didn't, pay too much for them, and somebody will appreciate them if I don't. And then this one was a 100 notable books from the New York Times book review in 2014, which I'm sure also swayed me. So published in 2014. This one has a 3.7 on Goodreads out of 25,347. So a little bit lower than the rest, but a significant amount of reviews. It's set in the 1941 in Queens. Drinking Irish parents. A woman marries a serious scientist. Possible marriage issues. An inescapable darkness enters their lives. Yeah, this is one where the woman wants to move up society's ladder, from what I get from it. And yeah, that's not my thing. That was one of my the quest for wealth or a position in society is one of my, from the last video, one of my turnoffs, one of my boring buzzwords. I really like the front cover though. That's really neat. Anyway, let's read page 112 and see what we think. She told him he could take the ice cream to the couch another first, and she went to get the television for him. The only set in the house was the little black and white one in their bedroom. They had been wheeling it out to the living room during the playoffs in the World Series. She cleaned up the pan from the chicken while he watched Entertainment Tonight and joined him when she was done. The games usually started at 8 or before 8, but when... I can't even read that. The Cosby Show. Oh, let's skip down here. The Cosby Show ended and the game was about to come on. She told him she was going to the bedroom to lie down, and he gave her a stricken look. "You're not watching the game?" She could tell he was disturbed by what had happened to him, that he didn't want to be alone. "I'll watch for a little while," she said, relenting. She didn't blame him. Over and over, she had been reliving in her mind the moment when she'd watched Donnie pop the tomato out. She wanted to sit next to Connell to hold him close to her, but she had no idea how to do it. She had no interest in what... She knew she... I'm sorry. She knew she wasn't the softest mother in the world. She worked a lot. She worked, period. Oh, dear me. Oh, my God. She did her best to encourage meaningful conversations at dinner. The three of them talking as a family, and not only because it would be constructive in lubricating Connell's future advancement among people who judged a person by how he spoke, but also because she liked to hear what he was thinking. Sorry, friends. I was a little bored reading that. This is just, I don't think this sparks my interest, much less my joy. Let's see what Shawn thinks real quick.
I'm intrigued by this one. I wasn't in love with the prose, but I didn't hate it, and I was drawn into the story by just mysterious references, like about halfway down. The mother and her son, is it her son? It's a mother and a child, anyway. A boy, maybe teenage or preteen. Over and over she had been reliving in her mind the moment when she'd watched Donnie pop the tomato out. Now that sentence alone makes me want to find out what's going on in this story. And she's reading Lonesome Dove, and they're watching TV, The Cosby Show. Blech. But I wasn't in love with the writing. She did her best to encourage meaningful conversations at dinner. That's just so bland. And then later in the same sentence, and not only because it would be constructive in lubricating Connell's future advancement. Like, that's just horrible. Those are horrible words for a novel.
Okay, so Shawn didn't give me enough encouragement to change my mind at all. This is a book that Leo loves, and I really appreciated Leo's comments. And I feel bad, but it's not anything that interests me. I'm not in the mood to relive the 80s in that fashion at the moment, and I think I didn't like the tone of the mother. I just don't feel like reading this much of her. This is over 600 pages of that, and if I was that bored with the one page, yeah. I don't mind reading big books. I want you guys to know that. I know I'm talking about the page size, but that does matter. Like, I'm willing to plow through a 200-page book, but when it's 600 pages, it needs to be a little more exciting as far as my interests are concerned. I'm less tolerant the longer it gets of being bored. So yeah, this one I am just going to have to unhaul as well. So I think I will just take all of these that I unhaul to the little free library. I think that they're perfect books for the little free library. I mean, they're not bad books at all. I just don't think that they're of interest to me. So yeah, and I think this was really productive today. I was worried with episode 2 when I first started reading the page 12 that page 112 would not be something that helped me in determining if I liked a book or not. But I think it was just the luck of the draw that I liked the writing style from the 3 in the first day, and then today's they were more telling for me, because it's more when it's negative things that it speaks to me. I'm not as fine-tuned with my likes with prose the way Shawn is, but anyway, yes, so we are almost there. Just one more session with page 112, and then we'll go on to wrap up. So thanks so much for watching, and stay tuned. Bye.